Going on, everybody? Welcome in another edition here of Dangle Bet Selly, powered by FTN Bets, presented by Points Bet Canada on Game Plus Network here as well on our FTN Network YouTube page. You're listening on iTunes and Spotify. Tell a friend, smash the like button, rate, review, subscribe. It's not too late. We're going to be with you until that Stanley Cup is raised, but it may get raised a lot sooner than some people would have thought as we wrap up game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals last night. A big 7-2 W for the Vegas Golden Knights. Eric Young, Chris Meaney here with you. EY, good morning. Welcome in. How you been?
Morning, buddy. Yeah. Man. Vegas looked. They smashed Florida, man.
Look unstoppable.
They looked complete. Last night, they looked unstoppable. I'm not saying it's over for Florida. Everybody has bet against them, me included, in every single round. And here they are in the Stanley Cup Final. We did talk about, and I said it is a big deal, and I think it's a bigger deal than anybody wanted to admit. And if you looked at the percentage that ESPN broadcast brought up about having that kind of a layoff, they are not sharp, right? They just do not look like the same team. And I understand Vegas is deep and they're a good team and this, that, and the other, but Florida does not look like the same team. And most importantly, Bobrovsky does not look like the same goalie. He looks like the goalie that was playing during the regular season. Nope, the focus isn't there. I mean, letting in goals that he can see clearly, like it just can't happen, right? And then on the other end, I wish I didn't live in Tennessee so I could have bet on Adin Hill for the Conn Smythe trophy. But no app that I have here gave me those odds. We did talk about it though, and I said that Adin Hill at whatever it was, I don't remember. It was like
12 to 1.
12 to 1. And we said it very easily could happen. I think Marchessault is going to have something to say about it, but Adin Hill, I mean, it could still happen.
Yeah, it could. I mean, we jumped on Adin Hill before the Stanley Cup Finals started. You and I at 12 to 1 to win the Conn Smythe. Get some live odds here for you in a minute, but Jonathan Marchessault is the favorite as of this morning at -105, and we jumped on Jonathan Marchessault on the show as well. It's not like we jump on everybody, but I do have a couple Conn Smythe picks in there. One is Jonathan Marchessault after I saw him light it up in Edmonton. In a game-clinching Game 6 showing. He had a couple goals there. He was the best player in the second round. He led all players in goals and points and shot attempts and scoring chances. And he doubled down in round 3, and he's been fantastic here against his former squad. 3 goals, 2 more last night. Scored the first goal for Vegas in Game 1. Scored the first goal of the game last night. Of course, we talked about how it's a fun revenge story for him. Vegas, their social team was having some fun last night on Twitter as well. Like in caps, they tweeted, "We selected Jonathan Marchessault from the Florida Panthers, and fine, we'll take Riley Smith from you as well, and a 4th-round pick." And that's exactly what happened in the expansion draft. And Riley Smith had a goal in Game 1 as well. So we do have the 31-1 ticket on Jonathan Marchessault to win the Conn Smythe. We have Jonathan Marchessault at 5-1 over at Bet365 to be the first person to get the Stanley Cup from Mark Stone. I don't know. But Adin Hill has been fantastic. And I know you talked a lot about the layoff. You really did. I thought Florida had a great Game 1. I thought that they were really good in the first period, especially. And, they hit a couple posts in Game 1. That game could have really gone either way. But last night, they just got smacked in the mouth. And Vegas was all over them. You're right. Bobrovsky doesn't look good. He's looked very similar he looked, like you said, I mean, very mediocre, kind of like the goalie we saw in the regular season. Alex Lyon came in and made some saves. I almost guarantee that Paul Maurice is going to go back to Sergei Bobrovsky at home for Game 3.
He has to.
I think he has, no choice at that moment. But Vegas does look better. I just think that they are a better team. I think they're slightly deeper. Their blue line is so physical. All their defenders are over 6 foot. Adin Hill is just like a monster in the net right now. The guy is completely feeling it. He's in the zone. And Florida, I kind of feel like they're overthinking a little bit. Like a couple power plays were good power plays. I think they need to switch it up. I think they need to put their best goal scorer, which is Carter Verhaeghe, on that first power play unit. I think they need to put him across from Barkov because Barkov is not shooting the puck right now on that power play that I don't feel like Vegas is respecting him. He's kind of like passing it across or doing like a pass shot to Kachuk in front of the net. I think they need to have Verhaeghe on the other side. I noticed they switched the lines up in the third period. They put Verhaeghe with Bennett and Kachuk. They put Lindell with Barkov and Duclair, and Lindell scored. So they mixed it up a little bit. I think that they have to do something to kind of shake up the mojo. But, man, Vegas can match them up and down the lineup.
Yep.
They got a better bottom six. Their fourth line is playing unreal.
The fourth line might be
fourth line in game 1 and game 2 at home. Like, when's the last
something
time
happens every time they're on the ice, right? Something
every
positive.
Time. Yeah.
Every time.
Nicholas Roy is just so underrated as a player.
Yeah, I mean, is it a fourth line if Nicholas Roy is playing on it? Like, I mean, dude. They're just so deep, and we talked about it. I mean, Florida's deep too, but not deep like Vegas. And this is the age-old story of you got to lose first, and it might be Florida's time to lose because Vegas has already experienced this. They've already lost in the Stanley Cup. They battled their way back. Here they are playing for the Stanley Cup again, and it looks like it's their year. I'm not counting it out. I said it on the show last week, just saying I'm cheering and supporting Florida. I like both of these teams. I think Vegas will win it, but that doesn't mean that I want that to happen. I think that's what will happen. That's what I said. But I want Florida to win it because it's just such a crazy story. We've been Florida fans. I mean, you were saying before we got on that 3 years in a row you picked Vegas to win the cup, except for this year. So there's a pretty solid side move for you. But that's what happens. I mean, if you make bets that don't pay off long enough, eventually go, okay, it's just, you gotta pull the reins. That's why I still have money in my bank account. If I chased every bad bet, I'd be home.
For sure. We expected a bounce back from Vegas this season.
Yep.
I don't think either of us thought that they would be the best team in the Western Conference, but we did expect a bounce back because last year was just such everything went wrong. Everything that could have went wrong for them went wrong. Like everybody suffered injuries. Like Eichel wasn't with the team for quite some time. And, Mark Stone up and down the lineup, Shea Theodore, Pietrangelo, Alec Martinez, like multiple goalies again. Everybody just, suffered injuries. But yeah, again, I just feel like, you bring up a good point. We always talk about that, learning how to lose before you learn how to win. I mean, the experience that Vegas does have, Pietrangelo a cup, Alec Martinez 2 cups, Barbashev cup. And my goodness, Barbashev has been just a perfect get for Vegas.
Perfect player.
And then the 4 guys, like the Misfits and Theodore, like Carlson, Riley Smith, Marchessault, and Theodore, like all 4 of those guys were there right from the start when they went on that cup run in their first year against Washington. So they have a little bit of a taste from the experience as well. And what I really like about the lines where you see most teams across the board just kind of load up their top 6, and Florida kind of does this too with Reinhardt's a proven 30-goal scorer on line 3. But Florida, like Barbashev on line 1, like what he brings to Marchessault and Eichel, like the grit, finishing the checks, like the physical play, hard on the forecheck, and then you got Amadio on line 3 or line 2. I think you put him on line 3, with Riley Smith and William Karlsson, and then you got that 4th line. And then you also have Brett Howden, who had a nice goal with Mark Stone and Chandler Stevenson. So they have like this like gritty, in-your-face type player on each of the first 3 lines with 2 skilled guys. Like it just works perfectly, like the way that they roll their lines. And they can match the physical play that Florida has like Boston matched that, and they matched the physical play with the Bruins right away. And I could see it in game 1. I'm like, wow, like they're not going to shy away from this. And then I thought they bullied the Leafs around a little bit, like punching Marner and punching those guys in the face. Like they bullied them a little bit. Then they were bullying Carolina. You can't bully Vegas. Like they're punching dudes in the face, and Vegas players are just laughing at them. Like they're taking silly penalties at the same time, which is not helping Florida at all.
Yeah, a lot. And you're hearing a lot of discourse on social media of Florida fans saying the refs are out to get them. Like, look, I mean, sometimes ref calls this stuff and sometimes they don't, and they've decided that they're going to call it. They're watching you because you've been doing this all playoffs with this after the whistle nonsense and whatever, and they're calling it. And I mean, as professional players, you got to realize that and just control yourself. because it's not helping your team. Putting Vegas with a man advantage 12 times in a game is not helping you.
And it's not the same power play that was going on in the regular season. Like the comment that we read on Mean Streets the other day. Right? Oh, it's clicking right now. Florida's penalty kill was never great. Like their special teams was kind of their weakness. Power play can score, but their penalty kill not that great in the regular season. But also, like Mark Stone is a key part to the power play. He wasn't with the team for quite some time. They put Shea Theodore on that power play, first power play, midway through the Oilers series, and he's been great as well. So yeah, I mean, Vegas is clicking on all cylinders. They look unstoppable. It's a couple things. You got to lose on home ice. Until you lose on home ice, you're still in it. Yep. So, but they're going to have to win games 3 and 4. They got to win both at home. They got to match what Vegas did. And then it's a 2 out of 3, and then they'll have to figure out a way to win a hockey game in Vegas. But I think they're done. I've been on Vegas, when the start of the season, my goodness. Start of this series, I have them in 7. I don't know if we're going to get that, but you 2-unit play on Vegas. Florida's now plus 500 to win the Stanley Cup. I just don't see it. I really just don't see it happening. So I don't think it's a good, people want to look for a long shot bet. I just don't think it's if you think Florida's going to win the Stanley Cup, then just put a little sprinkle on Matthew Tkachuk at 10-1, maybe to win the Conn Smythe, because that's better odds. But I think they're finished. You think, they got to take care of business on home ice, but I just don't think that I think they're done.
Yeah, my prediction stays the same. I think Vegas will win, and I think they win in 6. That's what I said when we made our predictions. I do think Florida will push back. I think Game 3 is pivotal. They know that. Paul Maurice knows that. Tkachuk knows that, and now they've got a couple games with the belt. And like you said, Game 1 did not go how I thought. I thought Game 1 would look how Game 2 looked. And it didn't. And I was like, well, maybe the layoff wasn't that bad. But by the third period of that first game, Vegas was kind of having their way with them. And Game 2, Florida didn't. Okay, they scored a couple goals and stuff, but they didn't. They were missing in action. Vegas smashed them into the earth. Like just literally smashed them into the earth.
So Game 1 was pretty even in terms of scoring chances and shot attempts, from Natural Stat Trick at 5-5. Things we like to look at in this show. Florida had 3 more shot attempts. They had 5 more shots. They had only 1 goal at 5-5 to Vegas's 3. The scoring chances 26-23 in favor of the Golden Knights, and the high danger chances 13-9 in favor of the Golden Knights. It's really hard to look at last night's numbers because the game was out of hand in the third period. But Vegas did have a very strong first, much better than the first in Game 1. Overall, you look at the shot attempts and you see 16 more for Florida. The shots were dead even, 19 apiece at 5-5. The scoring chances 7 more for the Panthers, and the high danger chances 5 more for the Panthers as well. But a lot of that came in the third period. They outshot Vegas. The shot attempts, in the third period at 5-5, 26-12 in favor of the Panthers, 11-6 for the scoring chances and 7-4 high danger chances. But again, the game was just out of control overall at that point. So last night, we always take a look at just some of the shot attempt leaders, and we had Brett Howden with 2 goals, Jonathan Marchessault with 2 goals. The shot attempts, 6 for Martinez. Pietrangelo had 5 attempts, didn't put any on net. Marchessault and Chandler Stevenson had 4 shots each, and Chandler Stevenson had 6 attempts. But for the people that are wondering about their futures, because we've talked a lot about futures here, we have Jonathan Marchessault to lead the series in goals at plus 750, and we have Jonathan Marchessault to lead the series in points at 13-1. He's got 4 through 2 games, as does Jack Eichel, but Marchessault's got the 3 goals. And on the Florida side of things, nobody has more than 2 points. And only 2 players have 2 points, and it's Anthony Duclair and Anton Lundell. They each have 2 points, a goal, and an assist. So they need to get something from their big boys here. Matthew Tkachuk did score a goal last night. You mentioned some of the penalties and fans. It still does really tick me off when I see a big hit in the NHL, and then a guy has to immediately respond because he's getting jumped. And I understand what Vegas is thinking. They see their star player go down, Jack Eichel. They see his helmet pop off, and they see Matthew Tkachuk hit him. But that was, a clean hit, not absolute clean as day, body check. Jack Eichel kind of saw it coming, kind of braced himself, and at the same time he toe picks and he leans forward, so it looked really bad. Luckily, he came back and he was fine. But he's got to defend himself after that hit. Guys are jumping him, and all of a sudden he gets a 10-minute misconduct. It's BS. Like the guy lays a really good body check and then has to sit in the box for 10 minutes. Like they need to fix that. They need to have something because back in the day, did you watch any Rock'em Sock'em? How many big hits? How many fights were followed by those big hits? None. They just took
half of those videos are big hits, like hits that would surely end up in fights. And it is a rule and it never gets called. The instigator rule, like they called it on Darnell Nurse, which it's stupidity, but that's where that penalty should be called. If Matthew Tkachuk lays a hit like that, clean or dirty, it's part of the game. And then a guy comes in to fight him, and because he fights back and defends himself, that doesn't mean that they're both willing. I mean, he had no choice. The guy that comes in to fight that guy should get a 10-minute misconduct too. That's how you clean this up.
I thought like Pietrangelo was the first one in, and he was like give him a couple cross checks. I thought that he should have been given a 10. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. Yep. Anyways, and then Matthew Tkachuk gets another 10 for like just being a pest. He's just I think he slashed the stick out of somebody's hand. He gets another 10. So he had like pretty impressive that he scored a goal and had 4 or 5 shots with like 20 some odd penalty minutes in between all of that as well. All right, so game 3 is Thursday. We will be back Thursday to preview it as we showed here. Florida, as of now, slight favorites at home, -120, total of 6, and Vegas checking in at +100. So on Thursday, we'll be back and we'll do some shot props and things like that. I want to say what up to the crew, and we can talk some free agency. We can talk some Mike Babcock questions in here and things like that. Brucey's 91 in the house. Good morning, gents. Vegas up 2-0 with dominating performances. He'll win the Conn Smythe Trophy. Looking good so far. It is, but I think if it ended right now, there's 2 more games. I think it's Marchessault.
Yeah,
I think it's Marchessault because he's been there throughout the entire run here. Just rattled off some of his numbers in this round. So if he keeps this up and he scores a couple more goals, I think we're going to cash in like 31-1. I think we may get the goal leader and the points leader in play. Maybe the crazy degen Bet365 Stanley Cup handoff bet is in play as well. Let's see who is leading overall in points. I mean, Eichel's right. That's the thing that Adin Hill has going for him is he's been fantastic through the first 2 games, had the 2 shutouts in the last round. And also like there's a cluster here. Eichel, 22 points, 2 off the lead for Roope Hintz. Marchessault, 21 points. Stone 17, Stevenson 17, Barbashev 17, William Karlsson 15. So there is a massive cluster of like 4 or 5 guys that maybe you can make a case for. You can make a case for Eichel, Stone, Marchessault, Adin Hill, maybe that like split factor where they just give it to the goalie. But I think as of right now, you lean Marchessault. If it ended right now today, would that be
I think right now I was like thinking, during the second period, is like if Adin Hill gets a shutout here, it's going to be his to lose, right?
Yeah.
But they did score.
If he gets one in game 3 or something,
both goals are inconsequential. Like I'm sort of saying, if Adin Hill comes out and he shuts them out, if he gets like back-to-backs, games 3 and 4, and they win, it's his. Yeah. This is all ifs and buts, candies and nuts, but I mean, he's obviously still in the hunt, which is just wild. It's just wild to say.
Dustin Chafee in the house. Hope so. I grabbed it at like 14-1, but Marchessault is the current favorite and for good reason. Daily Handle in the house with Jordan Allen. Good morning, Means EY and everybody. Troy in the house. Good morning here. We'll get to your question in just a second. Scott Stevens hits. That's it, right? They're doing a Mighty Ducks E60. Did you see that float around social media?
Yeah.
Doing I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Me too.
I was always a big Mighty Ducks fan. Movies came out. I think just the one movie came out before the team, right? Keep your head up, kid. It's professional men's hockey, and that's really just it. Let's see. Conn Smythe. I looked at it this morning. what do we got here? Awards. I mean, Marchessault minus 105, Eichel plus 425, Aiden Hill plus 500, Matthew Tkachuk at 10-1, Bobrovsky at 13-1, Mark Stone at 15-1. All right. That's pretty much it. I don't think I have too much more to say about what we've seen so far.
I do
we'll
want
see
to
a little
say
bit of a
there's
go ahead.
a clip circling our guy Dmitry Filipovich shared it of Mark Stone. He breaks his stick. He goes out to cover the point because he plays wing. Montour goes to shoot. He blocks it. Then he knocks Montour over. Then he skates to the bench, grabs a stick, gets the puck, makes a perfect pass, and they score. And he loses his mind. It's like the perfect Mark Stone shift. It's awesome. It's an ISO cam on him. So if you want to see that, and it was making me this morning watching it.
Yeah, I'll go back and check, but I remember all of it. I've watched the whole playoffs on the TNT broadcast. Big ups to TNT broadcast. The guys there.
TNT's broadcast is the best in the business.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
doing things for hockey, and it is so good.
I like Jones and Ojek too on the call. Like, they're just so smart and in tune with the game. They don't miss anything. And the between the periods intermission, I think Lundqvist has been fantastic. I think he breaks it down the game really well, and of course you have the great one, and Anson Carter does a really good job as well. And I like how they had Gary Bettman on there for game one, and Bettman was like pumping their tires, saying how great of a broadcast it is, and in between the intermission so good. And then Biz was like, "Oh, I guess we all deserve a raise." Like, yeah, everyone but you. Everybody but you. Yeah. And then they had Connor Bedard on the broadcast yesterday. Did you see him taking shots at Biz as well? It's like, it's like all these good players are here with me, but and Biz is here too. So Connor Bedard's having a nice little run. Speaking of the NHL draft, you can't bet on Bedard, but Adam Fantilli is minus 450 over at DraftKings to be the second overall pick, and Leo Carlson is favored to be the third pick there. And Troy would be happy about that one, I think. Minus 120 for Leo Carlson, Will Smith just behind it. Okay, so a couple housekeeping items I suppose we can get to. We can bring up the free agent class again towards the end of this show. We're going to go about another 20 minutes here or so on Game Plus Network. Let's address Mike Babcock. Troy says, what are your honest opinions of Columbus getting Mike Babcock? He says he honestly thinks it would be silly to think that Mike Babcock isn't thinking of new ways to adapt his system, establish relationships with players differently as well. Mike Commodore took to social media yesterday, I saw, and he was not pleased. He was not happy, and he wished disaster on the whole situation. He was not shy in saying that. He hopes that it goes completely sour. And he doesn't think Mike Babcock deserves a head coaching job. He called him a bully, and he's called him a bully multiple times. Johan Francis called him a bully. A lot of players have called him
Mike Babcock, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so do you agree? What do you think? Do you think he's changed? Do you think it's a good hire? What do you think?
I mean, from what we know, is it was kind of his MO, and in the reality, I mean, if we pull back the curtain to a lot of the coaches in that era, I mean. And probably be talking about the same stuff. Like, it's just how coaching was done for decades. And it's very clear that it doesn't work anymore with players of this ilk and of this time and of this era. And if Babcock changes, he's good. But the reality is I don't know if he's capable. I think that at one point he was one of, if not arguable, the best coach in the league, but the players are different. The league is different. And in Toronto, he didn't change. He was still doing the things that he did years before. And I can say especially some of the personnel decisions, Mike Babcock at the end of his Toronto run was not a good coach. And if he was, he wouldn't have been fired. And I understand that lots of coaches get fired, then maybe they shouldn't deserve it because it's the only bullet that the GM has, right? You can't fire the players. You can't. It's not possible. The thing that you can do is fire the coach. And that's why we see it happen all the time, even when maybe it shouldn't happen. So my bet is that Columbus is going to regret this. My bet is that we're going to see a lot of the same thing Nothing against Zach Hyman, but I can remember it clearly in the playoffs. He's got like a sprained wrist, and he doesn't play center, and he's out in a penalty kill, a super important penalty kill in the Leaf zone, taking a faceoff. He's got a wrist injury, and he's not a centerman. And for some reason, I mean, I get Mike Babcock likes him. I like him too. But anyways, there was lots of baffling decisions when it came to personnel. And I hope that doesn't happen for Columbus. I hope it doesn't. But this is a betting show. And I'm betting that it is what Commodore said. I believe it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a weird hire. I mean, he's so far removed from the game. A few years. I'm sure he's going to adapt a little bit. I know that's probably in the back of his head, and I'm sure he went into Columbus and told them everything that they wanted to hear about how he's changed and things like that. But maybe at the same time, Columbus didn't want to hear those things. They know who he is. They know the pedigree that, the resume that he has. They know that he's a hard-nosed coach. I mean, even Chris Chelios had some nasty things to say about Babcock from his days in Detroit. Johan Franzen talked numerous times about him being a bully.
Chelios is one of the best players in the league at the time, and Detroit Red Wings are just winning games hand over fist, and Chelios still didn't like him. And you don't have to like your coach for it to be a success. There's lots of guys playing in the NHL that don't like the coach that they have right now, guaranteed. But for me, the proof is at one point, yes, he was very good, but that was almost a decade ago. There is no proof that he's still a good coach. Zero.
And I wonder if the relationship's going to be with, like, I just immediately think of like Johnny Hockey. I just think of some of those players. Patrick Laine.
Johnny Hockey can play for Sutter. He can certainly play for Babcock.
Yeah.
Patrick Laine is the worry. He's a different kind of cat. And I don't think that's a secret to anybody. So
what actually happened in Toronto? Like, did he ask Marner to identify the players that he works harder than in the offseason? Was that it almost felt like a shot at Marner. It almost felt like it was like, I don't think that you work that hard. Like, show me the players that you work harder than. But at the same time, it was also like, rat out the players that are not working hard and tell me about them. Like, it's a really weird that leaked out.
It's pitting the players against the players. I understand the pushing buttons and having the players rally against the coach. Like Mike Keenan did it. Like, a lot of guys from that era did it. They're like, he wants to solidify the team. So he bullies them all and yells at them all. And it was something like that. But in the end he's pitting Marner against his own teammates. What is that doing for anybody? Mm-hmm. And the reality is, look, man, things have changed and the players have changed, and you can't coach them like that anymore. You just can't.
Right. Yeah.
They don't accept it.
Things have definitely changed. I had a couple like hard-nosed coaches too. Like, I'm not even talking junior and high school days, like early on, like Bantam days, coaches kicking over garbage cans, breaking kids' sticks in between the intermissions. Like, that stuff happened. And
your
I have
parents
friends now
paying for you to play, and this guy lunatics are breaking his sticks.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like, I have stories that I can't even share on this show. But I have buddies that coach now, and it's like very, very, very different. You can't like yell at a kid to back check, or you can't, in between the second and third say, you guys are not giving any effort. Like, give effort, try out there. You can't, because I've heard I have a buddy who's a coach that just said those words, like, guys, we traveled 2 hours to come here. This is between the second and third period. We're down in this game, which is fine, but I just want to see some effort. Just like, show me some effort that you want to be here, that you're trying to be here, that you want to win this game. And kids on that team told their parents that the coach was yelling at them, saying that they didn't care and didn't want to try. Like, it just like turns around. Then the parents are yelling at the coaches. The coach doesn't want to coach anymore. He's doing this voluntarily, like with his, because his son plays on the team and his son's friends, and nobody wants to step up. He's just trying, and like, you can't. It's a fine line now, and things have definitely changed. So good luck, Troy, to Babcock. I'll tell you that. It says if. Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know, Troy. Good luck, dude, with Babcock. I think you'll win this bet, though. I think you'll get Leo Carlson going to Columbus there. I think you'll get that one. Other news: Cole Caulfield signed a big extension with the Canadians, $62 million,
What a
8
contract
years,
for Montreal.
$7.85 million, just $200K shy of Nick Suzuki. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yep.
I know that a lot of people out there are talking about him being injury prone, which I just think is BS, because he suffered one injury, a shoulder injury last year, separated shoulder injury. All the reports out of Montreal that he could have played through it. Their position in the standings, like, this isn't a team that was going anywhere. They shut him down, and he had some big moments as a rookie, just in the league for a minute throughout the playoffs, through 4 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And in the following year, he didn't suffer any injuries. He would have played a full season if he didn't get set down to the minors from Dom Ducharme. So I don't think it's fair to say that he is injury prone. Yes, he is small. He's not built small. He's actually like thick for his size. 26 goals in 46 games last season, 53 in his first 123 games in the NHL. This stat may be cherry picking just a little bit. Higher goals per game this season than Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, Carter Verhaeghe, Timo Meier, Tim Stützle, Matthew Tkachuk, Elias Pettersson, William Nylander, and Jason Robertson. So that stat does feel a little bit like a cherry pick stat because he only played basically half the game. But this stat that I saw from TSN this morning, I'm just trying to dig it up. I saw it from TSN actually last night about active goal scorers. So I'll find it, and you let me know what do you think about the contract? What do you think about Cole Caulfield moving forward?
I mean, if you're a Habs fan, you got to be absolutely over the moon for getting a player of that caliber. I mean, what is the thing that the NHL plays for? Goal scoring. What has Cole Caulfield proven that he can do at every level, including the NHL? Score goals. And that combination of him and Nick Suzuki, it's like bat brain, like it almost, like a short version of the Sedins. They just were in lock, right? When they were on the ice, something was happening, and something good for the Montreal Canadiens. So this is a great contract for them. Great for him. I mean, clearly he enjoyed playing there. I don't know people that wouldn't. You mean like it's a storied franchise. The arena's unbelievable. The facilities are top of the class. Montreal is a beautiful city, an amazing place. It might be one of the only really appealing places to play for players in Canada, right? Like, I mean, obviously the tax situation is deadly all over the country of Canada, and it makes it hard. But the winters aren't harsh like they are in Calgary or Edmonton or Winnipeg. Like, yes, they are winters, but they're not crazy harsh. And the thing is Montreal is just an amazing city. It's an amazing city. And this is a great get for them. Really, really, really good get. And St. Louis is in a great place here. And the team is in a great place here. They're going to be competitive very quick.
48 goals in 83 games with Martin St. Louis behind the bench, 50-goal pace. Now, he may not have, like, his shooting percentage may drop down a little bit. Maybe he's not a 50-goal scorer in the league, but I think he's going to be a consistent 30-goal scorer in the league.
I think he is.
Yeah, I think he's going to touch 40. I think he's going to get in the 40s a couple times in his career. And you mentioned it, Suzuki. Like, they just have that connection. You have a right-handed centerman that has the ability and playmaking ability to find you all the time. It's a really nice connection for the two guys. So, yeah, it's good news for the Canadians. They are going to have to rebuild through the draft like this because you mentioned the tax in Montreal. And let's be honest, it's tough for other people to bring their family over to a French community if they want to have their kids in the area in the school. So it's a team that is going to have to build through the draft. They've had some nice moments through the draft, and Kent Hughes has done some good things. And I like the fact that he's a former agent, so he kind of gets that side of it as well now that he's learning the ins and outs of being a general manager. But you're not going to see too many agents really kind of pull a fast one on him. You know what I mean? So I like that tricks. He knows all the tricks. Like, he can't fool me, right? I know the ins and outs. I like that they signed him to like the 8-year deal rather than like a bridge deal. And then they have to, like some of the things that we've seen in Toronto, like Matthews, like a 5-year deal, and all of a sudden, you're going to get more money. So I think he'll play into that contract. And there was some talk about like a 3 or 4 year deal, which would bring him to free agency, and then he would probably get more than $8 million if he really had some nice campaigns. So this one I saw from tsn.ca. Active players, keep in mind, just active players, they had 50 career goals in fewer games than Cole Caulfield. Ovechkin, Kaprizov, Matthews, Laine, Besser, and Crosby. That's it. Ovechkin, Kaprizov, Matthews, Laine, Besser, and Crosby. Those are the only active players that hit 50 career goals in fewer games than Cole Caulfield. 13 Rocket Richards in that group that I just mentioned there as well.
Not bad company.
We got 5 minutes. And we're going to get out of here. And not bad company. Got 5 minutes. And we're going to get out of here. We'll take another quick look at this free agency stuff here. We got some goalies. It's not a massive class here, but Frederik Andersen, Antti Ranta up at the top. Tristan Jarry. You're going to be a few players come off the books in Pittsburgh. We'll see what Dubas does. Jonas Korpisalo, Cam Talbot, Semyon Varlamov, Aiden Hill, Jonathan Quick, James Reimer. Aiden Hill just may get paid, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the forward list. Patrick Kane, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Pacioretty, Jordan Staal, Jonathan Toews, Sean Monahan, Jason Zucker, Ivan Barbashev, Jonathan Drouin, Max Domi, Evan Rodriguez, Michael Bunting, and JVR. You touched on Tyler Bertuzzi in the last episode, I think, when we brought up some of these names. Is there another, do you think Ryan O'Reilly is done in Toronto? You think Bunting is done in Toronto? You think those guys are finished?
I think Bunting is, because I don't think they can afford him. I mean, the truth is Toronto is everything is wild. It's wild. I mean,
some massive changes with the Leafs.
It's everything's wild. And
yeah,
the more this happens, the more truth to the thing is we don't know what the hell is going on. They don't know what's going on, right? I think Shanahan thought, okay, we got Dubas locked up, and then Dubas changed his mind and said, well, if I'm going to stay, I want more power and more money. And they said no, and he moved to Pittsburgh and now runs the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think Brad Treliving has had some success and done well. I think he's also, you can do that with most GMs, point out bad trades and bad moves. I can say his press conference was about as good as a press conference can go, right? He didn't say a lot because he's not in a position to say a lot, and he doesn't want to put himself under the microscope right away, right? He's just got to take time and get in there, but he's got his hands full, and so does Kyle Dubas. I mean, I think if you're picking a situation, I think I'd rather the Toronto situation than Pittsburgh. I guess they have some more cap room, but man, they've got some.
The future
contracts.
Yeah, the future does seem better. The future does seem better in Toronto. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Yeah, how much say does I want to know how much say Tree Living has. I always wanted to know how much say Dubas had. And if Shanahan just these guys just puppets for Shanahan. Does Shanahan have the final say? Does Shanahan tell Tree Living when they hire him, did he say dude, you can do whatever you want here. You want to trade Marner? Go for it. You want to fire Sheldon Keefe? Go ahead. Maybe keep Matthews, extend him. We want to keep him. Nylander, we wouldn't mind keeping him, but this is all you. I don't know if that was the case. I almost feel like Shanahan's listen, we don't want to break this up too much. Come in here, ride the ship, do your thing. I would love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations. I just don't know.
I mean, I think it's very clear that Shanahan is the one running the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think it's been that way for a very long time. I think Kyle Dubas wanted autonomy to make the decisions as he should, as he's the face of the gym. No one, when weird trades are happened or this happens or that happens, was saying, oh, look what Brendan Shanahan did. It's, oh, look what Kyle Dubas did. So he's taking all the blame, in the end, getting none of the credit because people know that Shanahan and the board is involved, right? I don't blame Kyle Dubas for moving away, right? I mean, you're just kind of this lame duck in between. You're the one doing all the work. You're the one getting all the blame. And in the end, you're really not allowed to make your own decisions. And I think that's Treliving is going to be in the same kind of position, right? In the end, he still has to run it past Brendan Shanahan. And I'm not saying Brendan Shanahan's like saying, no, we do what I do. I think Brendan Shanahan isn't as involved as a person making decisions should be in the kind of day-to-day of hockey operations. And I think he should leave it to the person steering the ship, the GM. But that's obviously not the system that they have in place in Toronto. It's like, if you want to do something as the GM, you got to take it to Shanahan. He's got to agree with it. Then he has to take it to the board and sell it to the board in his own way, and then go back to you and say, yes, the board agrees. Let's do it.
Do you think Marner's traded? Do you think they trade Marner?
I don't think they want to, but I don't know.
I think they should. I think they should take a page out of Florida's book. Take a page out of Florida's book. This isn't a Florida. Look how good they were last year. Best team in the league. Set all these records. And what did they do? They traded Jonathan Huberdeau, who's a 100-point guy who's in the Hart conversation. Just traded him. Flipped him. They've been there for a while. And
now I'll say,
and it changed the makeup of the squad.
Marner's not as old as Huberdeau.
Sure.
Marner,
he's not the same
Marner
player.
is
he's a better player.
the spirit animal of that franchise and of that team, good or bad. That's just the reality. He's a kid that was born and raised in Toronto, still lives there. And don't kid yourself. You know, I'll tell you, the Nashville Predators, maybe 5 of the players on the team, and they're all the guys that can't afford to have other homes, live in the city, in this city. As soon as the hockey season's over, all of them are gone. Forsberg, Johansson, they're all gone. They don't live here. They're not residents of this state. They're not residents of this city once the season is over. 3/4 of the players. It's the same thing in Toronto. It's the same thing everywhere. I think right now, Matthews has all the power, right now. Marner his no trade is going to go into effect, and then you're not going to have any power with him either. Can you afford to have no say and no control over 2 players that are both making 11 million, 12 million, 13 million plus? I think they have to, and I don't think they will.
I think they'll trade him. I think you're going to see some craziness. I think they should trade him. You're not going to win the trade. I think he's a really good player. I really do, but I just don't think he's a good player. Like I know it's so weird to say, and we're on the way out here, but I don't think he's that playoff type player. And I just feel like they could get a couple good assets from him, whether it's a stay-at-home defenseman who's in your face, is a good defenseman, maybe under contract, and then like maybe a forward or 2. Like, and I know it will feel like a loss to move on from him, but I feel like overall the team may look better, more balanced, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. These are the defenders that are up through free agency. Dmitry Orlov, I think, would be a good get for a lot of squads. John Klingberg, Matthew Dumba, Shane Gostisbehere, Brian Dumoulin, Damon Severson, Ryan Graves, Ladislav Gavrikov, Radko Gudas, who left last night with an injury, and Scott Mayfield. Not a lot, right? Not a lot of marquee names are going to help you out there, but I think Dumba changes scenery, and then Orlov would be a good get.
Your opinion before we take off here? I know it's Connor Hellebuck and Gibson have both told their teams that they want to move. So like whether that happens or not, I don't know. But like that's it. I mean, I believe in Hellebuck.
Gibson, I think, is just, I don't know. There's been so many injuries with him. Yeah, I think he needs to go to a situation where there's also a good backup, and it's like almost a 60-40 split.
Yeah.
Hellebuck certainly has a lot to offer, but you're going to have to trade. I saw some rumors like Marner for Hellebuck. Like, that's just nonsense. The Leafs should never do anything like that. If they're going to trade Marner, you got to get like a couple younger players under contract. Can't trade for a 30-year-old goalie. And I think they may be fine in net. I think Wall could surprise some people. I think he could be okay. And Samsonov proved last year he's a good goalie. I think actually the Leafs are fine was good all year. And yeah, Justin, I think both of those guys will. He proved. Yeah, and it's not going to cost a whole lot to have both of those guys for the next couple of years as well. It didn't seem like defense was their issue. Their goals dried up, but I think ultimately they do need to find a way to get a defender. We got to get out of here. I got to start All in Football. My dog is freaking out. I think he got into some food last night. He's been in and out of the house nonstop. So we got to get out. I wonder if Dubois gets a t-shirt for signing with the Pens. Oh, Dubois. That's Dubas, not Dubois. Bruce, you love your t-shirts, eh? Check your mail for the latest. All right, we're out of here at the Eric Young. Chris Meaney as well. We'll be back on Thursday to preview Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Have a good one. Cheers.